All right, hey guys, Sam here with you on Wednesday, October 3rd. And today, by request, we pulled our Twitter followers and gave them a choice of several major coins and came up with a list of three. I'm going to try to get to all of them today. So first up, of course, is Bitcoin. Now, so here's a daily chart. This is Bitcoin to the dollar on Bitfinex. No Elliott Wave count, right? So I don't know that it's really helping us until we break out of this pattern. I think just simplifying here has its advantages, right? So we can clearly see this. We're reaching a point where there's going to be a break one way or another. Now, for bulls, there's not a lot to latch onto here. So just again, just for quick review, just in case anyone hasn't drawn this or seen it. All right, so here's the dominant. Here's the dominant swing high, swing low to the 50, right? Everybody's seen that 100 times. So I did a couple of things here. So I just wicked off some areas of potential support, prior resistance that may offer some support that has not been broken. These were all potential levels of support. These have been broken. So these sit down here, and I just wick these off and say, all right, let's see if I can line anything up with any of that. Because the real question is, so we're looking at this, there's an anticipation of a breakout, right? So if you're a bull, your natural thought is to think it's going this way. Well, if you're a bear, you're just waiting for this. So until we break and we get some resolution here, I don't know that it helps us to try and figure out what kind of combination this is. I just don't know that we get any benefit from it, trying to get an Elliott count on this until we get more information. Now, eventually, we'll be able to come back as we get more data and the market reveals itself more. We'll be able to come back to this, and I mean, there's so many different ways you could count it. So maybe this is our ABC into a W. This would be our X. Then we get an ABC into a Y. Then this would need to be a shallow X. You'd have to allow for a shallow X. And then maybe there's an A, B, C still to come in down here. Well, if we break, again, as I was saying, if we break this trend line, where are we likely to go? Well, this has been down here since when did we hit that? February. All right, so again, just as I will often remind you, that there's no guy sitting here going, should I take profit? This is just software. I sold it here, and it will stay short until it gets that target, 3,400. So what I was trying to do is see if I could line anything up that would be consistent with this potentially resolving this way. And again, I'm not forecasting here. This is a contender. We may have a WXYZ, something like this. It could be down here. We don't know. So here's the point I'm trying to make. There is no reason to anticipate that these will not reach target, and there are multiples here, which we'll review, until we get a break of this pattern. Your assumption has to be is that these will dictate price until they break. So here, yeah, we had a very small break, just a wick went through the 65, but that target remains unresolved. Swing low, swing high, golden zone. So note here, so we get this target sitting on top of this potential. It's only that. It's potential support. So we get that one, and then just to stay consistent here, let's just keep going here. So from that swing, then we get this one with that. Oh, whoops, did I do that twice? I guess I did. Excuse me. All right, let's get that off. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to take from this one right here. All right, so we get 50, golden zone. Of course, we have yet another one here. This is the last one we have from here to here. We don't quite make it to golden zone. We get in between 50 and golden, so suggesting the market's weaker because we're not making it all the way to the 618. We don't have the legs to get to the 618, so we stall, right? Interestingly, right at the Vegas wave. So I line that up, and then I start looking below and think, okay, what do I have? Well, I've got a fairly substantial cluster down here, so I can't ignore this, right? There's no reason to assume that that these won't be magnets to pull the market down, right? There's so much algorithmic activity here that's just short, looking for those targets. Of course, then we get a bigger one down here. So let's line it up like this. So push these off here. So that's the big one, right? So if you see that, so from this 50 here, we can line it up based on the edge. So if you just look down, that's how you can identify which pull is from where. So we have the big one is down here. Well, that lines up with the second algo target from our second biggest, right? So we can line them up by their edges. So we have these two clusters down here. There is currently no algo pull with a bullish target. Every 65 has been broken. So I just come back to this and again, no one's more bullish than I am long term. But I look here and I go, how do we resolve this? How do we resolve this without one of these targets being hit? I think we have 5 because we have yet another one still, right? We have the last one, right? So I even forgot this one. So from that didn't quite make it here, again, golden zone. So now that has a lower target, but still below this trend line. Second target lines up here. So fairly good cluster down here around 5,200. And then the extreme down here, let's call it 3,400 to 3,200 in that range. Right, so that's a lot of weight. That's a lot of weight on the market looking for resolution. That currently sits unresolved. So even if let me take this, let's try the 4 hour and see if we can, I know that's going to be impossible to see, right? So just to reiterate all of these targets here. So with all of that on there, I'm going to go down to put this aside and go to where we can look at it on a smaller scale. All right, so here now I'm down to a 1 hour. So here I just happen to be on Bitstamp just because that's one of the exchanges where I'm holding a lot of Bitcoin. So I have this just we're in a range, right? We're just in a range. So what do we do with this? So what can we see here? Well, all right. So again, just to reiterate, so this is we can't ignore this, right? So if we just go from swing low, swing high, swing high, swing low, right? Again, I've shown this many times. We do have this little shelf that puts it right in the golden zone. So either way, however we know an algo will use this. So we're certainly in that range. So what do we do with that? Well, it's very hard to build a bullish case off of anything other than that daily chart, which is we're coiling, crypto Twitter is getting fed up with crypto. People are bailing, they're looking for other assets. They're trading weed stocks. It's anywhere but crypto, right? Unless you've been shorting along the way, you're just fat and happy. But if you're a long-term bull, there's just not much that we can latch onto here. So we can certainly, well, even if we take the lowest low in this range and we pull up here, so you make a case, okay, we came down to the support, the 887 held, but we don't have, there is no pivot here from a swing low to a swing high that has not broken the 65. Not one. So I think that's essentially a double bottom, wouldn't matter. So we broke the 65 here. Right, so yeah, it's subtle, right? And then we did have this reaction, so we just created a double top. So interestingly, we end up with double bottoms and double tops, right? So an indecisive market. So double bottoms down here, double tops up here, just establishing this range as we sit here from 6,800 to 6,100. So we've got a $700 range. All right, so let's just clean up the chart here a little bit, get back to what we can say. So where is the case for a bull? I can't make one. All right, and I'm a bull. I can't make a case. So this break here. So let's think, how would an algo have traded that, right? So if they break it here, then the algo is looking for the short. So the algo is taking a stop twice in a row, right? So they're stopped out here and they're stopped out on this one. So that's a shorter term algo. There is no help from either side. So we look here now, it's broken to the bullish side. Then it would go from the absolute low to the absolute high, right? So we still have a contender here. So you could make a case that perhaps we have some modicum of support here off of the fact that this high is slightly higher than this. So if an algo is using the dominance pivots here, maybe, but the fact that this broke again has already broken, there's almost no, it just feels like you're forcing a way to find a bullish bias or a bullish count or a bullish fib pull. It's just not there. It's just there's nothing to really latch onto. There's no median lines here that really help us here, right? We fail to make it, implies weakness, suggesting a move equal to or greater than the move that failed to make the median line. Well, then you think, okay, well maybe I've got it on the other way, going down, right? Not a lot here. But so the depth of this, we essentially double top here, so very steep. So you can kind of look at this and think, okay, well that looks more like a 3-wave correction. That is, as last time we did an Elliott count on this, I was suggesting that this looked more corrective and it looked like we had some sort of an ABC. Well, following that, then we get something along these lines. Now, are we going down here to retest that support? Well, if this is ABC, if this were going to be ABC, correcting this swing here, which is how it lines up. So we just grab that, right? ABC into a 50, retest the 50, pushing lower. Yeah, again, trying to get a count on this. Yeah, I suppose we could make a case for something along these lines, 3, 4, and 5 still to come. You can make that case. So we're going to need a pretty good push down here. So if this is ABC and this is 1, 2, well, I suppose you could make this case here that this technically can still be a 2. We don't violate this pivot. So we have the possibility this is ABC and this is 1, 2, potentially the 3 down here. So we just measure it out and say, well, let's get this off here so I can see that pivot. All right, so let's get these off here. Let me dial that in. All right, so awfully deep 2, but it doesn't violate that high. All right, so 1, 2. Well, we got to at least make 100% of it. All right, we don't have a 4 and a 5, so we tee that up. Well, here's 100%. 1, 2, 7, 2. Here's the high probability range where we'd be looking for that. Do we have that potentially setting up? All right, so this, again, if that's 1, 2, and within the third, if we're going to the 1, 6, 1, 8, that's our most common target, the highest probability zone for a third. If we're going 1, 2, well, we're going to need a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within that. Let's see if we can get that down here. Let me change that color. Within that third, we're going to need to get an impulsive structure. So if this is one, well, I suppose we could have a diagonal. But if this is going, as we'd be in some sort of a fifth, so this could be 1, 2, and then here, now we do need 5 within this. Ideally, we get an impulse here. That would help us understand where we are. So if we're going to get this 1, 2 in for the big 3 down here, well, then we need to get 5 within that. So we need something along these lines to get us down there. Again, I'm just freestyling it here. We don't know what this is going to look like, but this is a reasonable target down here. So using whatever geometry is available to us, and then trying to line up with some of these larger targets that just remain sort of weight on the market, unresolved targets, and we've got 5 of them. So how do you make a case that, so if I come back here to this larger degree time frame, let's go back to the daily. And let's clear some of this up. Sorry guys here, I know that's just impossible to even see what we're doing. Okay, so how are we making a case? You'd have to be making this kind of a case that this is that we're approaching some sort of a coiling factor, that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's what we're targeting. So this would be our potential Z wave down here. We'd have some sort of shit, who knows what this looks like. But if we're going to use what's there currently, if that's going to be 1, 2, Z coming down here, well, again, you're making a case off of, well, okay, maybe there's some trend line support here. But what do we have? We just see a series of lower highs, right? That's the obvious statement. Now, as of yet, right now, as we sit here, we have the first time where we're not putting in lower lows as of yet. So I suppose you could make that argument that if this trend line holds, then we have our first series of higher lows, as we're here, this low. So here, this is the new low. Then we don't get a lower low. We don't get a lower low. If this trend line is going to hold, we have potentially now 1, 2, 3 lows that are holding that trend line here, which sets up potentially, now possibly, maybe, that sets up the explosion out of this. So, but I come back to, what does it look like if we break the trend line? Where's the next support? Where are we likely to go if that breaks? Well, here's the first algo target relative to this pull. Pardon me. So that's this pull here. So here's our edge. So it would be, so from this X wave here to this first move down to this golden zone, here's our first target we could get to down here. And that's assuming we break the trend line and we look for a next target. Well, that's where it's likely to go. That would suggest to me, now we have this little low volume node right at that as we line up with this prior resistance. So this looks to me like our best case, so let's move that trend line. So let's think what that would do to the trend line. If we come down here, right, then we're just getting this, right? So we're just working off of that pivot. So this would continue down here. So it puts us down here at, let's call it approximately 5,000. We'd have to finish down here, get to 5,000. At least the one of these algo targets would be getting hit. Here's the big one down here at 3,300. So if we break there, next stop. Then we get the biggest one, the one that's all the way back here to February, the dominant, actually hitting its target, right, which would suggest that that we're going to break down here. So the next opportunity to at least put a toe in the water for a buy, as far as I'm concerned, is down here at 5,200. Now I say that without knowing, maybe there's some event, maybe we get something that's going to push us up, but we're going to have to revisit all of that resistance on the way up. And note, right, of course, every one of these pivots is going to be substantial resistance on the way back up. Right, so it's going to be a long haul to get back up as we work through all of that resistance. So you got to know that that's coming. Right, so let me pull this off here. Okay, so all of that going to be resistance along the way. So as those start to line up with potential fib zones, know that those are going to be significant. It's going to be difficult to get through those, and of course the big one, you're going to have to work from wherever we put in a high. All right, well, of course we'll have to do all the way halfway back. But even if we were to get some resolution down here, so if this ends up being a pivot, and we come out of this with this big triangle pattern, we start working through it. We got a lot of work to do to get back onto a fully realized new trend as we break. So we'd have to be breaking here at 14.4. Shit, that's, yeah. Do I think it's going to happen eventually? Yeah, but that could be a long wait for that. That's a long way to go to get up here and break that 65. So a lot of things are going to have to be happening and have to go right. As we sit right now, again, no reason to assume anything other than at least one of these targets is going to be realized. And there's nothing I can latch onto on the bullish side to say, oh, well, I've got a target up here that might go. There's just nothing there. So it becomes hurry up and wait for resolution. Either let's break this low, let's get this resolved and get one of these targets hit. So then maybe we can start looking for some sort of a motive wave to come off of one of these lows where we can make a case for, hey, potentially we've got an opportunity here at a potential 2. That's really what we're waiting for, is can we get a motive wave? Well, it depends how aggressive you are. But can we get a pivot down here that would make sense? Get a motive wave off of it. Now I'm on the daily here, right? So there'll be variations within this as we go to smaller time frames. But if we get a good motive wave coming off of that, the first 50 is the first really solid trade we're going to have in terms of where you might want to put some size, right? At least some degree of size. So if we come back down here, hit golden zone, and we get a push off, so that would put us in a buy range, essentially sitting where we are at 6,400. So we'd be waiting for some motive wave, and then the first 50 or the 618, in between the 50 and the 618, would be our first opportunity to be buying with confidence that this long downtrend had potentially ended, and we would anticipate that to have a technical pivot on the low. I would be shocked if we couldn't find a technical pivot, some fib swing, some relationship that will make that a technical low, beyond just prior resistance. Although, shit, that could certainly happen. But as we looked, that's very close to those clusters that we drew up here when we drew our little hot box, where we had some of these resolving within that range right here at this low volume node. So I'm more inclined to see this continuing lower, looking for at least one of these to hit target, which implies lower prices still yet to come. Right? So I'd love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong. I'd love to come in one day and see this thing pumping and breaking some of these significant pivots. I just think it's less likely until we get some resolution down here. All right, guys, with that, I'll wrap. I've got a couple more to do today. Wish I could give you better news there or something to suggest that was on the buy side. It's just not there. So if you're a bull like me, we wait. All right, back to you later.